Hello, and welcome to the first devlog of my new TCG game that I've been working on for quite a bit right now, called Horizons. Right now I'm showing you kind of where I brainstorm and write down ideas that I come up with for the game. For example, the name, theme, and I even started developing the lore a little bit. I also wrote down the first set of rules for the game, but a lot of these are pretty old. Some of them have been changed in certain ways, and some of them just have been taken out completely. So this is not a 100% accurate list of the rules. I've also written down how a player's turn will go, just to kind of get a representation, an idea of how I want each player to play out their turn. As you can see, it starts off with 4 different phases. This also has been changed, as you'll see later. This is kind of a simple overview of how I want it to go. I also wrote down a quick explanation on how the game works. It's made up of how the game works, how you win, how you play, how each player's turn will go, just to get a more broad scope of how I want this to work. And I also have a quick list here of the different mechanics that I have implemented or can come up with for Horizons. A lot of this stuff has been revised. A lot of it has been taken out. You'll probably see some mechanics that have to do with dice, and the way I used to have it is dice was how players would get energies to play card, but that has been changed now, so that stuff, for example, won't be in the game. And you can also see the board layout. Now I came up with a couple ways I want the board to look like. Board layout version 3 I did like at the beginning, but I thought I just made it a little bit too complicated in a way. The second board layout that I came up with is board layout V2, and I think that one's a bit better, and that is the one I have decided to go with. Board layout V1, that was just not good at all, so I completely scrapped that. And over here, you can also see the Horizons playtest rulebook version 1. When I started to playtest for the first time, this is the rulebook that I went off. I quickly threw this together, kind of like how you would see rulebooks of other TCGs like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, and I just wrote down some quick notes about the game. For example, the different keywords that are currently in this version of the playtest, the exact board layout that each player will use, and a revised version of the rules of version 1. Again, this is still being worked on, so this is still not a 100% set of the rules. And then I also go through explaining how different resources work. As you can see, there is a resource called Scrap in this version of the rulebook, but as of now, that resource has been scrapped. Pun not intended. And I also go through the different types of cards. You got units, tech cards, and locations. Honestly, I can't remember if I have another type. Actually, wait, I do. Right now, in the most modern version of the game, you have units, tech cards, locations, and attachments. Attachments is pretty okay name. I might change it in the future. I'll have to see. But this is a quick overview of how each card works, what each card is, and what you can do with each card, and the different information each card will have on its template. This also explains how the combat goes between each player and the win conditions for the game. This also has a bit more of a detailed player's turn overview than the brainstorm that you saw earlier. This one's a little bit different than that as well. Now, as for the different versions of playtest cards I have used so far, as you can see, I did have these kind of ugly Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I just took sticky notes and wrote down different things on them and then just stuck them onto the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which were not the best. Pretty difficult to shuffle, but as you can see, then I upgraded to a bit more of a quote-unquote professional playtest cards, which was just printing out the cards on paper, cutting it out, and then putting them into sleeved Pokemon cards, which were a lot better than the Yu-Gi-Oh cards with the sticky notes, but they were still missing some stuff. And finally, last but not least, the final version of the playtest cards, as you can see, are much nicer. They are printed on letterstock paper, so a bit thicker than your normal office paper, which I like. The thickness makes it feel more like an actual TCG card. And they've all been sleeved as well. Now, I know I haven't gone over much on how the game actually works. If you want, you can go through, maybe slow the video down or pause in some places to look through the rulebook or the brainstorm. I do explain how the game works in both of those, but devlog2 will be mostly going over how the game works and a bit more on the mechanics. But that is all that I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this little devlog I threw together. Thank you and have a good day.